And Akil, this is for you. Let me read the letter we've written to you.
Chocolate candy,
It's more than that, because you've been doing a lot of TKOs here. Come down again. You've been doing a lot of TKOs here. So this letter is to Akil Rose, founder, Harlem Transformation Project, from the Art Gallery, the Museum of African American Cinema, and Community of Harlem. The fight is always on, and you continue to stand in the ring. We congratulate you, Akil, for your dedication, perseverance, and commitment to elevate minds, particularly the young ones. That you are appreciated is evidenced by all those who continue to support you, be around you in pursuit of the transformation we know is possible with the ingredients of love, trust, responsibility, and faith. Best wishes, Harlem.
All right. I like that. You got to phone. That's nice. I know you got it just here.
Yeah. We did. The community effort. The community effort. We all did. And when you open the sea, why the fight is always on.
All right, then. All right, then. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so
Can we get a photo?
Yeah.
Mr. Mills, do you want to come? Okay.
Mr. Mills, so humble.
Look right in front of you. Camera there.
Yeah, I want some Android. All right, well, thank you so much.
Congratulations. Oh my.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, and on another very important note after Akil, the first important note, we just wanted to let you know that on November 7th, which is the voting date, I think, election date or voting date, on the reverse of the ballot, you're going to ask to vote on the Constitutional Convention, and that's on Tuesday, November 7th. But remember to vote no, because if you vote no, you'll preserve your rights. So cast your no vote on the back of the ballot. It's unfair. Don't let the private corporate interests overshadow your rights. What's at stake? Don't lose. Pensions for state, county, and city employees will be at stake if you vote yes. Rights of union workers to negotiate contracts will be at stake if you vote yes. So remember no. Also, health care in New York State would be jeopardized and millions of taxpayer dollars will be wasted. Also, I think there are other things on the ballot that probably would have us paying for school beyond an 8th grade education. And there'll be so many other things that could affect the senior population. So you can always go on the voting website and see what this Constitutional Convention is all about. That takes place every 20 years. So I'll have these slides and I'm going to give it to each just as a reminder to vote no. Okay, so thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to give this back over to Akil.
Thank you so much. Give us my hand there. Isma was she's the kind of sister girl that if it was 2 times, she gonna be a hurricane. And if it's a hurricane, she gonna be calm. She gonna work out that battle. God bless her. And Brother Mills over there, 2 good Brother Mills, I don't know of the gallery up here, and he's been the gatekeeper and the steward of what's happening up here. He's been maintaining this art gallery, and I don't know, but he has one of the largest collections of black cinema in video in video than anywhere. He has thousands of copies. Come on up here, Ready now, please. He's going to be trying to get ready now. Okay. I got my artwork.
All right.
Okay. My name is Akil Rose from Harlem Transformation Project, and Uncut. And today having a panel discussion on black economics, entrepreneurship, and money. We know about the situation that's been happening in current affairs in terms of what's been happening with NFL and Nascar. Case in point, NFL. NFL has 72% of black players. With 72% black players, and all of them are multi-millionaires, if they don't like what's being done, what do? You start your own, am I right? So we can try, so based on that premises, if you have something, if creator puts something in your hand to do something with, you don't have to keep on asking people, or begging people to act in accordance to the way you want to do it, because you work it. So what you do, you create your own scenarios. Where did Jackie Robinson come from?
Negro.
The Negro, baseball Negro League. You know, what about the Harlem Globetrotters?
Thank you.
Negro League.
Yeah, before they were doing comedy, they played with a basketball association, Negro Basketball Association. So we can do the same thing. I think we spent something like $1.3 trillion in 2015, and Forbes said if we want to make sure we be like number 15 by number 16 in the world, that's a lot of money for just American blacks, African Americans, Africans, and Caribbeans in this country to be spending as consumers. So when we want to galvanize the blessing that we have in cash money, coupled with the resources that we have in Africa, we don't have to bow down to none. See, so it's a psychological construct that we have to change about the way we're thinking. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. The way you think is the way you do your actions. So that's what we want to change with having these series of conversations, not just for a good feeling type of thing. We're not going to pass no thing. This is not church. We deal with some serious issues, and we want people to galvanize them. We want to put them in practice, you know, and come back and revise on a consistent level till we can change and swing our minds of thinking in terms of improving our own conditions with our own self. So we have a fine panelists here today, and I wish you was more estrogen on the panel and with me next time. You know, but I know all you ladies, y'all were as happy as a church when I was in a cheese factory. You know, bad brothers over here. And we got some bad brothers over here. We have Brother Terrance Cox. Brother Terrance Cox, or should I say Terrance Alton Cox III. You know, anytime a brother you got a daddy and granddaddy with the same name, you know, this is a bad brother. You know, you come to that third and fourth and fifth, you know, there's something going on. Anyway, Terrance is from, you all heard of Nascar. Nascar has a history of blacks being in motorsports even since James Johnson. However, NASCAR has not in the top tier, you see. In other words, they can't get to the top of the money. Now, Terrance, being an entrepreneur, has a team that's been in NASCAR, and he's been challenging them with legalese. Meaning law, as our friend Alton always say, legalese. If we can get them in that courtroom, then we have an equal chance. Without the courtroom, all we're doing is praying and hoping that they feel sorry for us. Nothing wrong with prayer. But with us changing their mind, we might not do. But if you can get in that courtroom, then we have some kind of leeway. We're in courtroom right now with Terrance Cox. He can introduce himself to you a little later on. We are the famous Reverend Al Taylor. If you don't know Al Taylor is in Harlem, he's a legend. He came up under the tutorship of Danny Farrell, who is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the finest politicians that we have. I don't like that old crew. I ain't gonna all of them. They said they want to say them brothers got class. Then none of them went to the penitentiary. So they weren't doing no crime. They did a good job. They did good work for Harlem. And they had class act. And he's got the tutorship of Danny Farrell. I think he was with Danny Farrell almost 20 years. You know, as his chief of staff. Now he's going to become Assemblyman. But not only that, he's a military man, you know. And we're going to speak about some of the issues with the flag and whatnot also. But he's also a foot soldier. He's been with me on the streets, and I with him on the streets dealing with anti-gang violence for years. Every Thursday, this man goes out at 6 o'clock in the morning in about 4 or 5 different complexes. Every Thursday, might be more than that now. How many of you is it now?
11 years and 9 locations.
And do prayer walks with men at 6 in the morning. So when you look out your window, you see them brothers walking side by side. Some is big as Bird over there. Bird almost 7 foot tall. And some is as small as my little sister, my beautiful sister here, Saria. But they men praying in the projects where they're doing a lot of gun shooting. That throws a psychological switch on with the sisters and the older people and the men and the kids to see that there's somebody that take pride in their community and will stand on post. This is what this brother has done here, Brother Reverend Taylor. And he also, when you talk about you can't get out of bed, you don't want to walk across the street, he walked from New York to Chicago about 6 months ago.
No, it was
About a year.
summer of 2016.
Yes, that was 2016, to put awareness on gun violence.
Wait, you say he walked?
He didn't sneak in the car at nighttime. He didn't have to sneak and leave and nobody pick him up on a bicycle or motorcycle. Because you know they were looking to try to see if he go cheap. But he walked. His wife walked many other ways with him. When she didn't walk, she coached him and made sure he was all right psychologically. But he walked from New York to Chicago to prove that, to bring awareness on the gun violence. You know, from New York to Chicago. So let's give him a hand down there. This brother here, I'm walking around the street like flipped on a banana peel. And I feel right in front of this presentation. And I got up and brushed my knee off and I looked and see these books. I said, the making and breaking of a ghetto mind. And so me and the brother started talking. And he explained to me the book. I got a book there. I looked in the contents. I always look at the contents. I liked it. I said, brother, we're having a panel discussion next week. Could you come and elaborate on some of these contents that we have in the book? This is Brother Lloyd. We have here an entrepreneur in the village of Harlem, Brother R.J. Lennon, who is an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, coach for young black men and older men. And his wife is also, she's super bad. I met Mr. Paul at the conference Al Sharpton had a few years ago, wasn't he? And she is a motivational teacher. She does Zumba. She works with senior citizens and yoga, all kind of stuff she does, all kinds of stuff when it comes to physical activity. They're a perfect team together. But him having the background of entrepreneurship and in a black perspective and wanting to bring economics back to the righteous form in terms of us getting paid like we should be getting paid off the efforts that we have and the money that we make. I said, I'm going to work with this brother here. He has a lot to offer, so he will be able to do also. This brother, how old are you now?
38.
38. Well, I must have met him when he was about 25 or something. It's been a while back. It ain't just been yesterday. It seemed like it. But he was with a brother by the name of Ryan Mack. I don't know if y'all remember Ryan Mack. Ryan used to be on CNN, financial analysis and whatnot. He wrote a couple good books. He used to go around the projects and do financial literacy workshops, especially in Brooklyn and Bronx and whatnot. And me and Ryan got to become pretty close. And then I found out I had him come to a panel one time and found out he was a minister also. You know, but very keen brother when it comes to economics. I mean on the acute level, on the prestige level. Well, he's one of his mentees, and now he's made his show for himself. He's a professor now, and he teaches business and sport. What is he teaching now?
Entrepreneurship and sports management.
Entrepreneurship and sports management. So we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to make it very simple. These brothers will speak for, I'm going to give them some time to speak. They will speak for 10 minutes apiece. After that, then we go down to 5 apiece, then we have a question and answer. And I'm going to ask a very simple question. Knowing what's happening with the current situation with economics in the black community, coupled with the current situation that's happening with NFL, NASCAR, case in point, the sponsors, people that sponsor somebody like NASCAR, $20 million just to put their name on the side of a car. $20 million. And we spend a lot of money with these people. Let's say we spend money with M&M's or Home Depot. But they're not hiring, but they don't let blacks on the top of their tier. You know, they're very racist, you know, the Confederate flag and all these different things that they have no iggers in NASCAR. I don't use that other word, so I say igger silently, okay? But they do this thing without no shame. Well, I'm questioning the sponsors that sponsor them. If we can spend millions and billions of dollars with you, why do you sponsor somebody that openly and blatantly discriminatory? You know, and use unfair practices. Things like this. We need to know the power of the boycott. So the power, if you shake up their money, shake up their pockets, then they will act in the court. Because one thing that they worship is that dollar. You know, you can hoop and holler, you can pray and do all the rest of it, but it's not a moral thing with them, it's about business. So if we hit the pocket and galvanize, we can make some things happen. So that's gonna be, I want you to kind of touch on that, any kind of way that you want, you know, from your perspective. We're gonna start with Mr. Terrance, Alton, Cox, the what?
Terrance.
The third,
What's the word?
I'm going to get 10 minutes in your mind. I'm going to reach deep. I'm going to give you some understanding. My name is Terrance Cox. I own a NASCAR racing team here in America. The name is called Diversity Motorsports. I have a 22,000 square foot garage in Mooresville. Next to that, I have a 12,000 square foot garage. If my children don't matter, my money don't matter. You cannot tell me from the room of a black or Spanish room because a child is not smart enough to drive a car. You don't have to have a PhD license to drive a car. You don't even have to have a license to drive a car. For 69 years in the greatest country on earth, there's been 4 black drivers. Not the number of thousands of men have given their lives in the military. NFL, 73%. Basketball, a lot of blacks. And grab those for me. I'm going to use those real quick. Those signs. Then I'm going to take a picture. Now, I'm going to give you a quick history of NASCAR. For 69 years, there's only been 4 blacks to ever drive a car. But there's billions of dollars every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in America that is generated through. Now, everybody drives a General Motors, Ford, or Toyota car. Everybody's eating M&M's and had a Gatorade. With how many Gatorades you have purchased, your child will never drive a car. Regardless how many M&M's, your child will never drive a car. The black community, let me back up. And I founded the movement called Minority Youth Matter Movement. When you leave here and go to all those thousands of kids that you see, it was the black mothers that ran into the protest. And for that, I'm truly, truly grateful. Then with the Akil, Dr. Rouse, Superintendent Terry Alexander, we created clergy for Minority Youth Matter Movement, where they went in there and put your hands together, back it up, praise the Lord, and pray. But them young kids on social media are vicious. Now, Monster Drink. They put all that Monster Drink in the black community where we're drinking all that caffeine. They are the title sponsors. But yet, there are no blacks. Billions of dollars every year purchased by people of color to buy this product. You mean to tell me that out of billions of dollars you can't find $15 or $20 million to pacify people of color? Even if you don't mean it. It's not personal. That Monster Cup series, I know that a lot of you all don't know about NASCAR, just walk with me. In the truck series is sponsored by Camping World, which is the Prophet. Everybody heard of the Prophet. Oh, how he embraces people of color, and oh, I love people of color. But when it comes to the real money, he doesn't make NASCAR push their hand to get my kids into this arena. So when we see all that profit in Camping World, you are not supporting our children. Oh, but I'm a fighter. Walk with me a little bit. I know this may be a little different. In the middle series in NASCAR is Xfinity, which is Comcast. It's 58% people of color who watch the TV. But yet you can't find $5 million and all them billions every day you're making to say, well, let me just go ahead and get a little black kid to shut the black folks up. As Comcast told Akil, state representative, it's not their problem, but yet you keep taking our money. Walk with me now. The owner of NASCAR is a young man called Brian France. He's third generation, very white, privileged guy, worth billions. He endorsed Donald Trump. And the backlash was vicious. It was vicious. Then when the backlash came, then you want to run and hide up under the bush. Don't throw a stone and hide your head like a soldier. White privilege in NASCAR is very, very, very special. So I'll say this. I'm the gentleman who filed a $500 million lawsuit against NASCAR for my kids. If my kids, my money don't matter. And one thing that NASCAR has realized about me is I will fight you to the end. I'm not going to run up under, when it starts raining of disparity, I'm not going to run up under the porch. When discrimination hell comes down, I'm not going to run up under the porch because I'm going to get these black kids behind that car. Now, the white supremacists put up a whole website on me. Yes. USAA Instagram put worldwide that I don't support Mr. Cox and Marietta or them niggas. USAA Insurance, the same insurance that we buy, we pay for the insurance every day. I've had over 213 threats. Nigga, I'm gonna hang you. I got you in my scope. I told my 14-year-old daughter, if I die, I'll leave you wealthy, and I will leave a program and a plan. Now watch where I'm going. The lawsuit hit them so hard with the movement, they ran to Disney and got a little black guy and say, let's put a voice into Disney. Now, Disney is so pro-black as long as you're taking my money. What they should have told NASCAR, until you get your house in order, don't come to me. If my kids don't matter, my money definitely does not matter. I'm almost done. This is a white boy walking around the track, and the product line, it says, no niggas in NASCAR. Come on now, somebody walk with me. I'm not upset with nobody. Why should my children have to go to a track and see people walking around with no nigga in NASCAR? Remember, half the money that it takes comes from us. This is the most powerful brand in all of NASCAR, the Confederate flag. It's been that way for 69 years. So our little kids during the pro have got to run around here and look at this flag and what it stands for. But remember, you're paying for this. You're paying to have that flag there. Now, M&M's. As much candy as black kids eat, M&M's should call them and tell them, I will pour my sponsorship dollar till I see people of color in there. Who buys more F-150s and Lincolns and black folks? But do you think that Ford called NASCAR and say, wait a minute, I'm paying you billions of dollars. You better find a kid and give me some pictures. But the white privilege in motorsport is different. I'm going to wrap this up, Akil. Now, remember my words this day when I roll these out. Part of all of my merchandise runs over here and is given to the historical black colleges. When I die, there's two things I will be known for. One is education, educating these kids. Money comes from the teams. It goes to the black colleges. And there's been a lot of blacks that have given money, but there's no money like this motorsport. The second thing that I will be known for is my humanitarian. How I made a difference in the world. So when you read about this, USA Today, Wall Street, you tell your friends you met me and tell them you feel the passion. We're going to get the teams from the products, going to educate the kids. Them kids will marry, people who are educated, they will have little babies to grow up to be educated. Then you will begin to see all the crime disappear. You have to educate the kids. So once again, my name is Terrance Alton Cox, Diversity Motorsport. When you get on Google me up, remember I said this, I will fight you to the death for mines. If their hair is like mine, if they look like mine, if they carry the same dialogue, if my money don't, my kids don't matter. And I do thank you, and I'm quite honored to be in the presence of such great men. And Akil and Mr. Mills, I thank you.
You did not mention that Sunoco is the official energy sponsor of of NASCAR, so we
And we
should
got a question, that's right, and we got a question and answer period, and we went down, we protested them too, we went to about 8 different states. But just hold your horses, you ain't finished, you ain't had fun. No, right now, but no, we gonna got some more to talk about. Reverend Taylor, I want you, because Reverend Taylor has to go, you know, Reverend Taylor, he got people to bury and everything. You know,
Souls to save.
we came in here, everybody short as Brother Karim's over there, looking at on roof something now. Let's call him. Let Reverend Taylor.
Are you all using this for recording purposes, this mic? Because I got a big mouth.
Go ahead.
Okay. I am honored to be here with these esteemed brothers. And I really would rather sit and enjoy and listen what you guys are doing. I'm still trying to get this to open up, because I have that book by nightfall. I want to understand it. I'm a country boy, and in the sense that I come out of Carolina. I grew up in Harlem, but I spent more time smoking dust than anything else as a kid, as a teenager, because people around me were dying, and I figured it's only going to be a matter of time before I die. And so rather than seeing people have to take a cup and raise money to bury my mother's son, I said, let me join the military. So that's how I ended up in the military. I didn't have a 3-point plan to get through the military and do all of this stuff. I was a dropout, entered the military, and they let me in as a military police officer. And I wanted to know if they knew my criminal history, because they were giving me a gun and a badge. And I just couldn't fathom that. And so I graduated boot camp at 19 years of age. And I got my GED in Germany. So a lot of stuff I'm doing, and I should have done it already, but I wasn't listening. So the opportunities weren't taken advantage of. So when I'm sitting here with these esteemed brothers, I'm like, dang, I missed a lot. So I do want to become a legislator, not because I'm going to make money. I lose money going into the assembly because I take a pay cut. But what I'm concerned with is the education of our children. And how do we level the playing field? I was in a room yesterday, and it was about broadband and all of that stuff. In New York City, New York State is the hub of where every technology wants to be. They want to be here. It's conducive. And these Microsoft and all these other companies, unknown companies, are trying to figure out how to house their employees in this city with the real estate like it is. So there's a plan. And it's worth probably, what, $20 billion looking forward. So technology is going to be the key to getting our kids to the future. But we need technology today. Like, we have textbooks in our schools, in some schools. Now, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I think parents should choose the best education they can get for their kids. But I do have when state money goes to charter school and they're not doing anything for the kids they're leaving behind in those schools, in our public schools. So charter schools have a great track record, but who's taking Willie Nuck in their school that's difficult and really want to put some time in with that kid? Because that's the kid I would have been. If you look at my report cards, it says he does his work, but he's too talkative. So I think if they were looking at me as an individual and not as a group, then they would have done more stuff to work with my creativity or lack of that. So I'm standing here today to say, hey, look, I want to serve. And this is not my campaign speech, so we're clear. When I walked to Chicago, the idea was that they were leading the country in homicides, but there were homicides happening here in New York. But what I saw in public housing in the places that we started walking at 6 in the morning, that crime statistics had dropped. The shootings had dropped. So when you say, well, there haven't been a homicide in the polo grounds in 4 years, we're like, wow. But there should not be a homicide in our communities, period. It doesn't happen in Tudor City. It doesn't happen on the east side. What are we doing? And people always wanting to come talk to you. Well, brother, let me tell you what. Get out of my face. If you're not part of the problem, you must be part of the solution. Everybody wants to pontificate, but nobody wants to roll up their sleeves and take something. And they want to tell you what you're not doing. I'm not that guy, just so you know. If you're going to talk to me, then tell me what you're doing or what your plan is, and we can work this thing together. People walk to me in the church and say, well, Pastor, I got an idea. Well, I hope you're ready to work it. Because I'm not going to work until I drop dead. I have a better plan for my life, at least. So I'm here to learn, and I apologize. I did have to do a funeral a little while ago. that which was true. But I left my wife somewhere like 4 hours ago, and she was finishing up, and she asked me to kind of hurry it up. And I thought this was going to take place sooner. But I'm here, and I'll sit a little bit longer. I just want to hear from you all, and I can't wait to read your book.
Absolutely.
I'm here to learn, period. At my age, I'm trying to learn and learn again, and that's what it's going to take. But how do we bring our brothers and sisters, the small ones, together and help them love each other? But it doesn't start until they understand that they have value. For so long, people tell you, kids, they tell our kids what this, and I mean, we want to go the straight and I did the Jerry thing. I just want y'all to know. I had Jerry Jews everywhere, you know? Let's be real. I mean, he moved them. We're driving the beast. And until we stop, it won't stop. And people say, oh, they're going to make no difference. People told me when we started walking in the Polo Ground, we started in Bronx River. And for 10 years, there has not been a homicide in Bronx River. There were 4 homicides in the Polo Ground when we started in 2008. And for 4 years, there was nothing. But people will walk up to you that aren't doing anything and tell you what you're doing doesn't make a difference. Really?
That's the truth.
And then when people tell me, well, you can't walk to Chicago, I'm like, why? You've never done it before. So I did it. And it did matter. It mattered to me. And I think we need to educate our kids to help them understand that they matter and not just lip service. They need to know that they matter. And it's not about the Jordans or the Nikes or whatever else. Baby, you matter. And get your education. Get your education. And then make sure those that are elected to serve you are doing what they say they're going to do. Not because they've been around or they're new and they're splashy and they're shiny. What are you doing? And then hold them accountable. I tell people in this journey as a campaign person, listen, if I'm doing something wrong, here's my cell number, text me, call me. I want to hear from you before I rip my pants. And if I do, I want you to know I want to get it right. And sometimes we may not always agree, but I won't become disagreeable. So I'm glad to be here this evening. I wish I could give more, but I'm here to listen for the most part. Thank you all so very much.
And I want to say Reverend Taylor is a military man and a good leader.
Thank you.
We would be on the corner, Manhattanville and Grant Projects. I want to say hello to my good friend, Mr. and Mrs. King.
Amen.
Brother King, that man right there, standing right there, will be up with us on the corners from 11 to 1, 1:30, when he was shooting them pistols and carrying on. And we'd be up on them corners, over there at Grant and some other different places. And after that, then I got to go hear somebody calling me on the telephone. He had one of his men call me out about, Akil, can you get 6 o'clock in the morning? I'm supposed to be sleeping. Been up all night on the corner. But I would get up. I said, Reb, you can't, good God Almighty, you can't do it at 8 or 9 o'clock, but they have a tradition of doing it at 6. And he got me up. And I got some of the roster brothers to come up there with me. You know they like to sleep like I do. Them brothers got up, remember the old Eric and them ride down on the bike, and them was old revolutionary rosters. And they would come down and watch with it, and it felt so good because the people really, they would come out and say, thank you for y'all coming out here at 6 in the morning. 6 in the morning. He's been doing it for 11 years now. You know, so I'm just saying, after being up all night on the corners, dealing with that violence, and then waking up a few hours later with him, that means he's a very influential man, and we need to, we need to have those kind of people. We need to support those kind of people.
Thank you much.
This book right here, the making and breaking of the ghetto mind. I'd like for this brother to explain that a little more, what he means by ghetto mind, and what does he mean about the history or methods that was used to make that mind, and what can we use to break that mind, to break that cycle, you know. And then the next round of conversation will be somewhat on how can we connect this economically where we can improve ourselves. But I want you to explain this a little bit more. You can do it better than I. This is Brother Lloyd Williams.
How you people doing today?
Good, good.
First and foremost, I'm a native of Harlem, born and raised. Ran these streets when they were not like they are today. And as a result of that, I did 23 years in prison. 23 years in prison, which is a very long time. However, I've always felt that God was with me regardless of my foolishness. And most of the things that I've done in my life has been inspired by him as a result of my foolishness, which is where this book came from. The credit for this book comes from God. He said he wanted me to write a book.
Amen.
I said, okay, I'll write a book. I went to college in there, got a bachelor's degree, began to try to get myself together. But the power of the streets is very strong. When I came home after 10 years, within 8 months I was back for another 12 and a half years. Right back after 8 months in the street, because the power of the streets is serious. But God has a plan. And what this book is about us changing our lives and having a documentary in order for us to follow it. Because sometimes what happens is we don't get books, or books are really hard to understand for some people, or whatever the reason, but this book is written in such a way that it's almost like a guide to show you what these people have done to us and how they continue to do what they do to us and the results of those things. The beginning of this book talks about, it's 10 chapters. It starts with the concept, and the end of the book is the Obama factor. The concept talks about what kind of mind these people have in order for them to do what they've done. You have to understand where they come from. They come from a very cold climate where things was harsh, and when they come down to Africa and they saw the beautiful things that we've done in Africa, they didn't want to live like that anymore. So they wanted to change their reality, and changing their reality, they said, well, it got to be us or them. So you got to understand the person that you're dealing with. It's not personal with them. It's about them not going back to that harsh reality. They just came out of the cave. They just started washing their behind. So now today, their thing is to say, you know what? We're going to switch this thing up. You guys are going to suffer. We don't really understand the magnitude of what slavery was about. To many of us, it's a story. A lot of us are a little bit older, so we dealt with the little 50s and the 60s. I was born in the 60s. But for those who are a little bit older, this is not a story and they lived it. But to these kids, it's a story. They have no connection to it. None. So it was hard to get to them. It's very hard. So when you're talking about slavery and you're talking about what was done, we can't even fathom what it means to be subjugated in that way. So when you say today, oh, we just got to get ourselves together, that's that. It's a lot harder than that. Because you got a machine that is still working to keep us in this position that we're in. They haven't forgotten. What do you think they want to give up white privilege for? Why would they want to give that up? For you? They've never seen you as being valuable. They've only seen you as a tool to use for their comfort and their pleasure. That is it. That's what slavery done. This book talks about there's a laboratory. The laboratory is the land that we live in. This is their land. They want to do what they want to do with this land. Land is important because it gives you food, clothing, and shelter. So they've taken this land and they created systems within this land. Economic system, political system, social systems, prison system. All these systems are designed to do what? To keep them up and to keep us down. And there's consequences of those systems. And one of the consequences of those systems, which the next chapter deals with, is the created images that we see today. We are all over the place with who we trying to find ourselves to be. We've had all sorts of names from nigger to Negro to colored to African American to Pan-African. We all over the place trying to find an identity. So there's consequences to these created images that we have today. You see the young boys walking with a particular swagger, the young ladies walking with a particular, they trying to find themselves. There's an identity crisis going on, and it's serious. It's a very serious issue. Somebody said tonight, hey, they're going to have a Black Panther Halloween party. You know, go get a wig over there. We don't need a wig. Our hair grows to that. But we got to get a wig today because we don't want to identify with ourselves. We have a crisis, identity crisis. There's a chapter in here on the black man. And what has happened to the black man is we a facsimile of what we used to be, brothers. That's just the bottom line. We so far from who we used to be, it is not even funny. The black man was strong, man. They know our history. That's why they keep us away from it. We were strong. And like me and the brother was talking about today, one of the things that I didn't realize until I saw it on the other day was called buck breaking. And buck breaking wasn't just, I thought it was just whipping them or beating them or tearing them apart. It was raping them. How do you rape a grown man in front of his family and then expect him to be a man after that happens? He has to become a created image in order to deal with that. He has to walk this earth with such a shame. And the woman can no longer look at him as a man because she didn't want him to die, but at the same time, man, you didn't save me. You didn't save me from this person that's now raping her. So we got some serious issues. Because there's a chapter here called The Black Woman and Their Perilous Plight. Because the attack is on you now.
True.
The attack is on the young sisters today. Anybody open up Instagram right now, and all you're going to see is chest and behind. And bathing suits, and that's with clothes.
Right.
Everything is shaking and rump shaking. Let me see what you can do and shake, 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 and shake. That's all it is. You have become an object. Straight meat. And then you wonder why we don't have good relationships. And if I try to come to you with a good relationship, you don't want to hear it because you want to be fed all this nonsense. And then there's a chapter called The Ghetto Spawn, which is the children. The babies. What's the result of an inadequate man with a deficient woman equals a baby that's going nowhere? So we got some serious issues, but there is hope.
That's right.
There is definitely hope. And one of the chapters in there is from blame to aim. About what it is that we need to do. And one of the things that we need to do more importantly than anything is we need to get our rites of passage back.
Correct.
Because that rites of passage is what introduced us into our next level of adulthood. It made the mother and the father responsible to set up a ceremony to say, child, you are important. We're going to guide you to the next level of your development, which is your adulthood, your responsibility. Responsibility, break the word down. Responding to your ability. My life around. We're not responding. I was a menace in those streets, selling drugs and running around and shooting people thinking I'm about something and being somebody. Foolishness. So God gave me this book. I sell it. I put it together for my own money out of my own pocket. Self-published. Put it out there on my own. Half the time a kid can come to buy a book from me. I say, give me $1. Because it's not about the money. Give me $1. Sometimes I sell it at cost. Give me $5. That's what it costs to make it. Give me $5. Because it's about the information. And it's hard enough to get them to get a book anyway. So if I tell them, you got an ice in your hand, I'll give you the book for the same thing that you got the icy for. And they say yes. And that's what it's about. You're going to have questions and answers in the second system. So today I'm going to wrap this up by saying not only do I have this book, I've also started my business 5 years ago, Lloyd's Reglazing, where I reglaze tubs. I'm straight independent, don't get a check from anybody except my own hard work. I try to hire some of these knucklehead kids who don't want to work, and it's tough. But what can we do except keep fighting? Thank you.
Mr. Reverend Taylor has to leave. Give Brother Al Taylor a hand. And what type of sneakers was that you walked from here to Chicago in now?
They don't pay me to promote it, but...
Oh,
Swiss company. I can't
I-
remember. But maybe I would remember.
I know that. Hey, God bless you, sir, and we'll see you later on. See you on the battlefield. Give me a hand. Brother R.J. Lennon.
Thank you.
I don't think I need a mic.
Let me say. You all, we're gonna get to question and answer. Let us get this together. We're gonna do this. We got a short period of time. We're gonna cut this, and we're gonna get to questions and periods so everybody get a chance to enter dialogue and then come up and speak. Okay? I guess.
Beautiful. Let me put this down. So, good evening, everybody. My name is R.J. Lennon. I'm a real estate professional. I mentor young men that look like me. I work with men that look like me. I want to help my community. And I am honored to be in the presence of greatness. You know, look at this for a second here. We got men who can create stuff out of nothing. We got men who can create stuff out of nothing. Diversity. We got men who can create stuff out of thought. So I'm going to share with you my story because for me, the question that I come to is, how do I show up versus how do I want to show up? And the gap that's there. So let me ask the question again. How do I show up versus how do I want to show up? For my wife, for my kids, for my community, you know, for the world in general. How do I want to show up? Well, I want to be powerful. I want to be a king. I want to be a warrior. I want to be a magician. I want to be a lover. These are the things that I aspire to be. So I gotta look at these things and define what these things are in a constructive, creative, positive way for my community. So I'll tell you a story. So way back when, I used to work for J.P. Morgan Chase doing corporate banking, and got married and thought that making money was the be-all and end-all. You know, nice house, four bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 2 kids, 2 cars, 2 vacations a year, and thought that was it. And the reality is that at some point, my wife at the time came to me and she wanted a divorce, and I didn't get it. Devastating for me. So for the first time in my life, I had to think about what was the value that I gave to others that made their lives better, as opposed to what I was trying to get for myself. So let me say that to you again. What is it that you give to other people that makes their lives better? What is the superpower that God has given you that you can give to other people that makes the world a better place? Because you see that here's the thing. If you aren't giving your joy, if you aren't giving your superpower, then what are you actually doing? How are you living? If you aren't giving your superpower, the thing that God gave you, that thing that makes you unique, then what are you actually doing then? How are you giving back to your community, to your kids? How are you giving back? So around that time, I discovered that, you know, I had this superpower. I could inspire people. I could share my experience. I could learn from their experience. I can be constructive in helping them get better. And so I created a mission for myself. And I joined this organization called the Mankind Project. And what the Mankind Project was about self-leadership. It's about accountability. So if I say I'm going to do something, I better do it because I'm accountable to you. It's about responsibility. You know, I have the ability to respond in the way that I choose. So that just because you treat me a certain way, I don't have to respond in that same energy. I have a choice in terms of how I respond to you. Integrity, my actions and my words equal up. So these are like basic principles that if we strive to live by these principles, it helps us to create a better community. So I can be a better leader for my wife. I can be a better leader for my kids, a role model. I can be a better leader for my community. So I started a coaching practice and I adopted these principles from this book. And I'm going to talk about the principles. There's 7 principles. And it's from this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. How many people heard of the book? All right. It's a book that I've studied, read it over and over. It's a book that I try to live by. And I ain't perfect, but it's something that I keep in the forefront of my mind. And so there's 7 principles that I've strived to live by over the last maybe 8 years or so. So the first one, and this is something I would say, we need to make this stuff personal, because my judgment is that we ain't made this thing personal enough, and that's why we're complacent. It ain't personal enough. If they were raping your uncle, your son, you'd want to kill their, you know what. You ain't made it personal, but they've made it personal. So from day one, when Obama came in, he won the election. That night, they made a plan that they were going to destroy him. They made a plan from day one. We don't have a plan for ourselves. We don't have a plan for getting up every day to be successful. We don't have a plan for our family. We don't have a plan for our finances. We don't have a plan for our relationship. So we get up every day and we just do stuff. And so the first principle is purpose. Your why. Why are you here tonight? Why are you here? What is the value that you're giving that makes someone want to give something back to you? And I'm not just talking about monetary value. I'm talking about just value as a whole. So how are you making the world a better place? What's your why? If you have a why, then it gives your life meaning, it gives your life focus, it gives your life direction, it gives your life something to shoot for. But if you don't have a why, then guess what? Housewives of Atlanta or basketball wives or whatever it is seems very important. I had a guy I was talking to on Facebook the other day, and someone was talking about what was going on with Trump and that whole mess. And the guy said, one of the guys commented and said that he was too busy to pay attention to what was going on. He was too busy to pay attention to what was going on. So I wrote back to him and said, bro, you can't be too busy to pay attention, because they're trying to destroy you and your family. So they're going to take away your health care. They're going to take away your money. This Proposition 1, they're trying to systematize taking away your money. They're going to put you in jail. They're doing all these things. They're going to force you out of your own community. How about that one? Systematically, through law. So if you don't have the time to pay attention to what's going on, then you're abdicating your responsibility to do something different for your community. So that's purpose. Define your why. Vision. What does success look like for you? So for everybody, success is different. But if you have a definition of what success looks like for you, then you can strive for it. So for me, in my relational life, and I look at things and I try to create structures around them. I try to create structures for me, so that there's like 5 areas of my life that I keep in my mind that I need to have a definition for success. So my relationship life, with my wife especially, my kids, my finances, I got to support myself and my kids. My spirituality, how do I show up in my community and my relationship with God? My health and wellness, do I take care of my body, my mind? And my vocation, my career, what exactly is it that I'm doing? And so you have to have a vision for what success looks like for you. If you have no vision of what success looks like, then what are you actually doing? You're chasing after someone else's dream of what success looks like for them. So they're systematically doing stuff to us. The majority white community is doing stuff to the black community to basically keep them in chains. And if you can't see that, if you're not paying attention, then you're basically falling victim. You're too lazy, you're not paying attention, you don't have the time to pay attention that you actually need to do something for yourself and for your community. Right. So you need to have a vision for what success looks like for you. Goals. You need to set goals. What do you want? Set a macro goal. So I want to be married to my wife for the rest of my life. Simple stuff. Ain't nothing rocket science about that. It's just a statement of what it is I want to achieve for myself. Set some goals that you are emotionally connected to, because that way you value what it means to you before you lose it. So you invest in the stuff that's important to your relationships. You invest your time in your vocation. You invest your time with your family. You need to have a definition for what that looks like for you, and you need to set some goals for what success looks like. Faith. And when I talk about faith, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about how we show up. So faith is, does your words and your actions, do they equal up? So when you say that you want something, how do you go after it? Are you going after it with a sense of intensity that you truly want it, or you're just saying the words. And so I look at people, not just what they say to me, but I look at their actions. Pay attention to their actions. So what are you doing? What are you doing to help our community?
Absolutely.
What are you doing to help our community? So for me, it's mentoring. I mentor young boys, elementary school here, projects up in the Bronx. I have a men's group that meet with men of color, because I see a need for us to have more leadership for ourselves and for our family. If I'm honest with myself, then I could be honest with you. But if I'm not honest with myself, then I'll put on this mask that when I talk to you, you talk to me, I'm going to give you stuff. I'm doing well, everything is good. No, everything is not well. Here's what's going on with me, to be real with you. So faith, take a look at what people actually do versus what they say to you. Action, your actions. Are you courageous enough to do something about what's going on? Let's talk about that. Are you courageous enough, or are you so fearful? So we talk about the NFL. And some of these brothers, they're fearful about losing their checks. I get that. But the reality is that if they let this dictate to them, then their family, their kids are in jeopardy when they get stopped on the highway. Dallas Cowboy, I think one of the guys raised his fist after Jerry Jones, the owner, basically said, none of you better protest. He raised his fist. Guess what? Next week he was gone. He's gone. So are your actions in alignment with what you truly believe, or are you just saying stuff? If you're saying stuff, you need to be honest with yourself. What are you willing to do to make a difference? Accountability. We need to have accountability. So I remember when I was in high school, Spanish class, there was this girl that I liked in the class, trying to be impressive, and I sat right next to her, not too far away, but I could keep an eye on her. And I remember that I didn't do my homework.